Hello and welcome to the Redvee TV preview show, supported by A-Star Recruitment for the 2022 season, as we look ahead to the round 5 fixture at the Totally Wicked Stadium this Friday night against the Warrington Wolves. I am joined by Peter Elder, live from Scotland. Peter, how are you?
Yes, I'm very good, Kev. Thanks for having me on. A very, very good introduction, by the way, there. I liked it, very positive. We don't miss that other guy that you hang around with, whatever his name is. So you've done very, very well there. And because I said that, this will be the last time I'll ever be on. But no, I'm not too bad. I had a bit of man flu earlier this week, which, considering it was International Women's Day, is a bad thing to be saying. But you know, it is what it is. But I'm back to full health at the moment, and looking forward to the sporting weekend kicking off, obviously on Friday night against one of our old adversaries.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, we're obviously 4 from 4. Won every game this season and won them, you'd almost say, in the main comfortably. I think Wakefield gave us the kind of biggest skirt because they kept us a little bit more honest than any of the other teams. A different proposition, I'd say, this week. Warrington coming into it wounded after being beaten by Catalan last week. We'll be looking for a kind of a kickback from that. Listen, they turn into prime Melbourne Storm, Kangaroos, whatever, or we turn into the Dog and Duck. It's one or the other this time. Where will this game be won and lost?
Yeah, well, first of all, you're absolutely right to point out that they're going to be a dangerous animal because of the loss last week. I almost wished they'd pinched the victory at the end of the day, because they might have been not complacent, but coming in 4 from 4 like ourselves, they would have been, very, very confident. I still think they'll come with an air of confidence, knowing that the last time they came here, they were successful. But I think we can't be writing them off. You mentioned the 4 games, but the one this season were 4 from 4. I think we did a lot of preview shows and instant fan reactions before the fans come back last year from our earlier games. And I remember the conversations where, we're winning, but we're not too impressive. And I think comparing this year to last year, the difference is stark. We look so much better. I'm not saying that last year we weren't good, but we're so much better in every department. The attack seems to have clicked very well this year, despite, losing guys like Kevin Agama, Lachlan Coote, Teo Faj. Jack Wellsby stepped up to the plate at 1. Obviously, it's early days yet. We're not going to, erect a statue for these guys quite yet, but they're playing well. Where will the match be won and lost? Invariably against Warrington. Warrington, when they have beaten us, particularly the game last year, their defence was very, very strong. Their defensive line speed was, from 8.5 to 9 metres away, pretty good. So we need to hope that Chris Kendall's kind of manning the 10-metre rule absolutely spot on. Fair enough to Warrington to be getting away with it. Every team tries to do it. And they seem to win the arm wrestle and slow us down at the play the ball and knock us off our rhythm. So it's going to be the dirty, scratchy bits of the game. If Warrington are still the Warrington they were under Steve Price, I don't think they've totally shorn that yet. If they've still got that mentality, I think that's where we need to kind of win. If we win doing the horrible, ugly bits of the game, then I think our better pack and our better backs will win the day. But it's getting the dirty, thankless jobs done better than they do them. I think that's the key to victory.
And I think there you're pretty much describing the Catalan game, where it was that little bit of dog that we needed to get through, and we did do it. We got through it, and as you say, you get our kind of skill and our gameplay was just too good for him. Moving on from that, squad news. That's it. Dave usually does all the techie bits, so I'm hoping this is working for everyone. I've just spent ages trying to make this work. So, news is that obviously Conrad Harrell drops out through suspension, a late hit on Friday night. sees him miss out. Jake Wingfield also drops out, with Kurt Sirenen and Jonathan Bennison coming into the squad. My first question for you isn't necessarily who will definitely play. It's, do you read anything into John Bennison coming into that 21-man squad? Do you see it as just something that's a little bit of experience for the lad coming in? Or is he in there for a reason and there's a good chance we're going to see him on Friday night?
I think my own thoughts are he's in the squad because he's been playing well for the reserves. I think obviously he had a good debut last year at Salford with a lot of young guys. So obviously Christian Wolf has confidence. I think he's unlikely to play, however. I think he's in the squad because obviously Conrad is unavailable. Regan Grace is a week or two away from coming back, and we'll be playing well without one of our top marksmen, if you like, or possibly our fastest back. So that's something for everyone else to be fearful of. And I think he's probably been named in the squad and been training with the squad in case someone else goes down with a knock. To have someone there who can slot in. I mean, obviously, I suspect that Sim will play alongside Will Hopelati and on that side. But if anything happens to one of them, I think, especially if it's Hopelati, then I think Bennison might potentially come in on the wing instead of Ben Davis. But as he's more of a kind of back three type of player, and it's perhaps an easier slot in for him. But I think it's possibly some of these guys are getting the reward for playing well in the reserves and then being involved in the first team, perhaps being the 18th man on the day, bringing the water on, being more involved in being in the warm-up in the dressing room before the match, feeling part of it. So when he comes in and gets maybe 2 or 3 games throughout the course of the season, nothing phases him. He's been with the team, he knows how it works on a match day, and he's ready just to slot in. But, it's good to have these guys coming in and we're not even potentially worried if he has to play, which I think is a very, very good place to be. But I suspect that he won't make the final 17.
Yeah, I mean, you're right there. I mean, we've got the history of bringing young lads through and we're not bothered about them coming in. I think when Josh Sim dropped into the team, there was no kind of worry about him coming in. He's played first team before. He's done well for first team before. He's just dropped in and he was unlucky to miss out. But with Will Hopelati coming back in, listen, you're bringing Will Hopelati over from Australia for a reason, and that's to play.
Yeah.
And that's why he dropped out. Another one that we've brought over from Australia, Curtis Sirenen, he's coming back into the squad. And Christian Wolf said that he is going to come straight back into the 17. You'd just imagine that that's going to be Kyler Moore unlucky missing out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I would think so. I think Kyle possibly knows the role that he has to play this year. He's not going to be involved week in, week out. He'll be with the squad, 18th, 19th man, probably most weeks. But he's the type of guy that if anyone goes down with a knock, be it like Louis or Big Al, you've got a guy that'll come in there that'll do the job. And he's an experienced player. Should go down as one of Saints, for me, one of Saints' greats when he decides to leave or retire. You look at the success that he's had, the teams that he's been part of, and some of the more vaunted players that he's seen off from Saints. So I think he's going to be a guy that'll maybe play half a dozen, 7 or 8 games this season, Kyle Amor, and won't let us down. But I think that unless any other injuries hits, I think the 17 pretty much picks itself this week.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Big call to call him a great, but you can't look past, as you say, the fact he's now won 4 grand finals. He's been part of that squad. Yeah, you're right. His days of being a starter or an automatic choice in the 17, unfortunately for Kyle, are probably over. But I go back to going to one of the forums for a Tommy Makinson testimonial last year, where Christian Wolf turned around and said, Kyler Moore made it in training that I couldn't leave him out. And that's exactly what Kyler Moore needs to do this year. And other players like your James Bell there, who's not had a sniff of first team yet, your Ben Davis, your Josh Sim, you've got to do exactly the same. You've got to put yourself out there that you're going to be the one who kind of can't get dropped. And I had this argument with people with regards to Aaron Smith. being the understudy to James Roby. And people were saying, well, he's behind one of the best. Well, guess what? James Roby was. And if you're good enough, you will be selected in that squad, and they'll find you a place there, and that is what happens. We will, though, move on to Warrington's squad, if this works again. There we go. Rob Butler and Jack Derbyshire, who could come in for his debut, are in the squad, with Matt Davis and Josh Charnley dropping out. Now, Peter, have you seen the Josh Charnley incident?
Yes. I mean, as funny as it is that he's getting a ban and he's obviously raging about it, if a Saints player had got a 2-game ban for that, I'll be, to be brutally honest, you would be absolutely fuming, because
Peter,
that's a shambles.
Sorry to do a Dave on you and interrupt you. That is exactly how I see it. That's exactly how I see it, though.
Yeah.
If that's Tommy Makinson, if it's Will Hopewati or whoever,
yeah,
I'm spitting at that decision.
Yeah.
I've no problem with Conrad Harrell getting done, because there were a couple of quotes that I saw from Shantae Happy and from Stevie Ward with regards to head injuries and the fact that we're currently trying to future-proof the game. Mentioned it last week on the preview show as well.
Yeah.
But that one from Josh Charnley, listen, does he need to be banned for 2 games for that? I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy with seeing players banned for that. You know what? If it's 1 game, if it's a grade A 1 game because of his history, fine. But 2 games, come on, Peter, that's too long, isn't it?
No, listen, I absolutely agree. I mean, as I say, I obviously started that by saying, it's funny that he's missing out, and him and Warrington are raging about it. But that doesn't deflect from the ridiculous nature of the ban. I mean, for every Saints fan that might listen to us just now and disagree and say, nah, it's Warrington, sod them, it doesn't matter. In 2 or 3 games, if they're giving out 2-match bans for that, if a Saints player does something similar, and we have, like, you mentioned Tommy Makinson, we're not digging him up, but you mentioned him, or Will Hopewati. But if he does that and ends up missing Good Friday, for example, people will be saying, that's terrible, you can't do that. But then Warrington fans will pile on and say, but hold on, let us present Exhibit A.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh Charnley. So, if you're looking for consistency from the match review panel, then, there's going to be a heck of a lot of bans. If we're giving out bans for that type of, I would say, non-incident. The Conrad Hurrell incident, fair enough. I mean, it was very late, but I think, to quote a phrase that's been used in football and rugby before, he got there as quickly as he could.
Yeah.
But it's a fair enough ban. I don't think anyone would argue against that. Other players are getting sanctioned for that. Fair enough. But no, I think as much as we applaud the RFL for taking a stand on ensuring player long-term safety and looking at concussion protocols with head injuries and whatnot, I think we have to have a long, hard look at why Josh Charnley's getting a 2-game ban for that, because it seems ridiculous to me, I have to be honest.
Well, that's it. It is, mate. It is. Listen, Warrington have still got strength in that squad. I mean, you look at the last 2 names on that list, Gareth Widdop and George Williams. However, they need a platform to work on. And there were some stats that I've just dragged up on my phone now while we were talking. One of the Warrington fans who I follow on Twitter has put these out. Round 4 for Warrington, apart from Mike Cooper, who doesn't appear on this list, who he says didn't stink the place out, Mulhern 67 metres, Philbin 66 metres, Hughes 53, Bullock 48, Holmes 45, Davis 24. I mean, I'm reading back here, round 3, the most was Philbin 75, then Davis 58 in round 2, Curry 51 in round 1. That's not good enough for a forward pack. They're going to be wanting to come toe-to-toe with the best pack in the league and put a marker down. They're going to be stepping up big time from them first 4 rounds, aren't they?
I think they're going to have to come out the traps absolutely flying. But I think, looking back to Saints' performance at Hull in round 2, there was a lot of talk before the match on Channel 4, whose coverage, by the way, just to briefly interject, I think in the first 2 rounds was magnificent, and I wish they'd get more than 10 live games. A lot of the talk was that perhaps Hull, with not a big pack, would try and move the ball wide because it would be the only way they would actually be able to beat us rather than going up the middle. And with the stats that you've mentioned and the fact that, out with, I suppose, like Cooper and Mulhern as big guys, they don't have anyone there. I'm going to regret saying this. That really that frightens us in terms of the forward pack, in terms of being a big, line buster. I don't, I think they would have to do that to get on the outside of us, and I think you'll see Warrington moving the ball quite a lot, quite early. I don't think they'll get the meters up the middle unless they try and hit and spin and play an offloading game. I think that might be the only way that they would maybe get on top in the forwards, by, I suppose, tying us up in the tackle, popping the ball out and getting extra meters that way. But because if it's a forward arm wrestle, there's only going to be one winner.
Yeah, that's true. That's it. And finally, just on them, our friend Adam John Berry on Twitter, he's been onto one of our instant fan reactions. He actually replied to the tweet earlier saying you could put me and Dave in the team and Saints would still win by 20. So listen, they're going to play it down because of how well Saints have started and how badly they played against what was a Catalan team missing quite a few players last week. But we know what happens, don't we? We know they turn into Melbourne. Yeah. We know they turn into the Kangaroos, the All Blacks. They do, don't they?
Yeah.
That's it.
It's their cup fight. You've got to raise your game for your cup final.
A little bit of a cheeky one, that Peter, calling it the cup final, haven't you? Don't mention cup finals and Warrington again, please.
Yeah. That was a long day, let me tell you.
Yeah, well, thankfully I wasn't in the country, so the game's heading for a near sellout. Saints put out midway through Wednesday afternoon that there were only 350 tickets left in the West Stand. That is tremendous going. Big raps to the fans who are turning out and watching the games. I sometimes get on my soapbox and say it's up to home clubs to fill the grounds. Perfect example of Saints doing it, and Saints are doing it as well for Samoa. For Tonga, sorry, get that completely wrong. I always end up messing that up. My apologies. They've launched the Tonga Relief Project earlier this month, and if fans have got any spare rugby shirts or equipment at home, drop it off to the Shining Light Centre on Forest Road between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. For the Saints Community Development Foundation. It'll go over there. It'll help the people out who've been affected by the tsunami over there. But getting a near sellout and kind of raising there's a lot of bad going on in the world at the minute, Peter. We can't get away from that. But being able to do our little bit for a country across the world that we have got links to, with Christian Wolf, with Will Hopoate, Iggy Parsi, with Conrad Harrell. I hope I've got all them right, who all play for.
Yeah, correct, yes.
It's good that we can do something like that, and it's good that a lot of fans are getting behind it.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, in amongst at the moment a kind of world of darkness, it's good that there are still some beacons of light, and that's just because as lyrical as someone like me is going to get on something like this. But
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, that's thank you, I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, it's an important cause. We need to look after people who are having a tough time, and Saints and the Saints Community Trust. It's a great initiative, and obviously people who are local to the area, please get involved and do as much as you can and help as much as you can. I know that good people at St Helens will, they're salt of the earth, working class people, just like myself up here, working a cut from the same cloth. Talking of the crowd on Friday night, I should say, I want to mention something I noticed on the St Helens Star Twitter page. A fellow Scottish Saint, a gentleman I haven't had the pleasure of meeting. It's a gentleman called Hugh Stewart from Cooper over in the Kingdom of Fife, who is a Saints fan. Him and his wife met a couple from St Helens, from Rainford, I think it was, several years ago on holiday. And unfortunately, he has a terminal illness, but he is coming down for the game on Friday night. So if anyone sees a Scottish-looking fellow, or he mentioned it's mentioned that he's there, say hello to him, shake his hand, make him feel very welcome. He does want to try and meet a lot of the Saints players. He has been invited down to hospitality when Saints play Hull at home. But any of the Saints boys that are watching this, any other Saints fans like yourself, Dave Howarth, that can make anything possible for this gentleman, Hugh Stewart's his name, then I know Saints fans will reach out and help, because we're a good bunch and we stick together. So first of all, best wishes to Hugh. I hope you get a win when you're down at the game on Friday, mate.
Yeah, and if you're about, Hugh, and you want to come on to Instant Fan Reaction after the game, catch us behind the West Stand where there's a bit of light. We'll be there like moths. We'll be there, and if you come down, come and say hello, give us your views on the game. Views on the game then, Peter. Listen, Dave always asks me for a prediction, so I'm going to do the same to you. What do you reckon?
Well, the good thing is I hadn't prepared a prediction, so this I'm just kind of doing this on the hoof. Based on what I said, looking at the squads, obviously I'm going to go for a Saints win. I don't think it's going to be conclusive. We'll have to work for it. I'm going to say Saints by 8.
Fair enough. I'm just looking at the weather. It looks like it's 86% chance of rain down here in St Helens, according to my phone. I'm going to stick with my tried and tested Saints by 14. Listen, if we can ride it out like you say, then and play as we have done, there's no reason why we can't win. That's not saying we definitely will. We need to still earn it. There's no point. You can't just turn around and think you're going to win, because if you're doing in rugby league, you'll get turned over. Last one before I let you go, Peter. The women's season is back upon us. It starts with the Challenge Cup. Saints are away at Barrow in the Challenge Cup as well. And they are on the BBC iPlayer this Saturday from 2 p.m. They're covering the game. So, you know what? Saturday afternoon, if you've got nothing else to do, you know what? Never mind if you've got nothing else to do. Get supporting the women's team. The women's team are all conquering. They deserve your support. We're all part of the same club. It's fantastic to see them. We've got some real superstars in there as well. And people, they are becoming a little bit more well-known around the rugby circles. People will know Jodie Cunningham, obviously. And you've got the likes of Emily Rudge and Tara Jones and the likes. And listen, it's worth getting them the support. You mentioned something just before we came on as well, that they have actually got their own social media channels as well. So get following them on there. And hopefully they can start off this season as they finished last season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heck of an act to follow. You met one player you forgot to mention, who I think is almost the star every time she takes the field. That's Amy Hardcastle.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
What a player. You know what I mean? She's some of the lines that she cuts, and not just the pace, but the power to knock people out the way that they're not even there. It's fantastic. But how can they improve on last season? That's going to be the tough ask, because they're up there to get shot down. But they've got the players, they've got the coaching staff, and the crowds have been increasing for the women's games, I've noticed as well. So, as you say, anytime Saints are playing, Saints women, get along there. You can follow them on Facebook, Twitter, Insta, as the kids say.
Yeah.
So
I've not got Insta, though.
Well, you've got to be up to date, Kev. But it's you know, there's no reason to not know what's happening, who's playing, where they're playing. You know, all the information is there. So get following the Saints women on across all the channels and get along, support them. I will be watching them on Saturday. Happily, Motherwell Scottish Cup tie against Hibs, the quarterfinals on Sunday.
Happy days.
So I will have the Saints women on the BBC iPlayer on the old iPad here, and unfortunately I have to watch the Scotland rugby team play in Italy at the same time on Saturday afternoon. So I will have all my eyes watching various kinds of rugby. I expect there might be more points and more excitement with the Saints women.
Possibly.
And I say that as a proud Scotsman, but I have to be honest about that. But every opportunity to watch what was an absolutely outstanding side, and I don't expect anything different from them this year as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know full well that the coaching staff kept telling the players that they didn't want any mistakes in any game. So that's how they're going to improve, Peter. That is, they can just improve them little 1%. I'm sure that they've been reading the likes of Black Box Thinking. If you've read that book about how little 1% can improve your game. I'm not on commission for that, by the way. I wish I was for something. Peter, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming on tonight and doing the preview.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking me. And just to get myself ingratiated with Dave again, I was only kidding. I hope you and the family are enjoying your holiday. Was that enough crawling? But yeah, hopefully we'll get you back safe and we'll see you again soon. But yeah, thanks, Kev. Good to see yourself as well, and we'll hopefully meet up in person very, very soon.
Yeah, definitely, Peter. Definitely, Peter. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will catch you after the game on Friday for an instant fan reaction. Take care.